Tiny man, tiny performance. My wife made a snide little gesture at our dinner party, pinching her fingers together while her coworkers burst out laughing. I kept smiling and brought out dessert, even though I felt like I was falling apart inside. A week later, I stumbled across a flirty message she'd sent to a guy she worked with. The expression she made when she saw her suitcase waiting by the front door? Worth every second. She shouted that I'd never do better than her. Now she's sitting across the room, watching while my new girlfriend can't seem to stop touching me. My name's Nathan Ward. I'm 39, and up until 7 months ago, I thought I had a solid marriage. Samantha and I had been together for 10 years, living in a cozy colonial just outside Philadelphia, both of us doing well in our careers. But all of that came crashing down one Friday evening in November. Samantha had pushed for us to host a dinner party for her coworkers from the marketing firm. It's important, Nathan. These relationships matter, she'd insisted. I spent the whole day cleaning, shopping for fancy wine, and cooking her favorite dishes. By the time evening rolled around, everything looked just right. The wedding china sparkled, candles flickered softly, and smooth jazz played in the background. 5 couples showed up, all dressed like they'd walked out of a fashion magazine, their smiles clearly practiced. I played the gracious host while Samantha gave them the grand tour, proudly pointing out our newly updated kitchen. For a little while, everything went off without a hitch. Then after dinner, while I was serving dessert, the talk shifted to relationships. By then, Samantha was working on her 5th glass of wine and gave me this frosty little smile. When I first met Nathan, she said, I thought he was going to be this amazing guy. Confident, in control, impressive in all the important ways. She threw in a dramatic wink for effect. Her coworker Lucas asked, and he's not. Samantha lifted her hand and made a small, precise gesture, as if she were measuring something very slight. Let's just say not everything lived up to the hype. The room broke into awkward laughter. I stood there, frozen, holding dessert plates, my face burning hot. It's like being married to a teenager, she said with a smirk. Always rushing through things, if you know what I mean. Someone tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, but Samantha wasn't done yet. We've all got our crosses to bear, she said with a smirk. Mine just isn't exactly heavy duty. She raised her glass in a mock toast, and a few others joined in, clearly uncomfortable. I somehow managed to finish the night, smiling, clearing dishes, refilling wine. But deep down, something inside me had shifted in a way I couldn't ignore. Once the guests left, Samantha acted like nothing had happened. When I brought it up, she rolled her eyes and waved me off. Oh, come on, Nathan. It was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive. That night, while she snored peacefully beside me, I laid there wide awake, staring at the ceiling, her words replaying in my mind. The way she humiliated me in front of everyone made it impossible to pretend things were fine. That night became the first in a series of moments that showed me who she really was. The next morning, I got up early, before she did. I hadn't slept well at all, kept reliving everything that happened. I quietly got out of bed, made myself a cup of coffee, and sat at the kitchen island, watching the morning sun stream through the blinds. As I sat there, memories from our 10 years together came rushing in, not just from the night before, but from all the years leading up to it. It was like I was suddenly seeing our relationship with new eyes, catching all the little digs and public jabs I used to brush off. In the beginning, Samantha's remarks were subtle, disguised as helpful advice. Maybe wear thicker-soled shoes when you meet my parents, she once said. Might make you look a bit more substantial. I laughed it off, thinking she meant well. Then the constant criticism started creeping in. What began as light suggestions quickly turned sharp. That's it, she'd say, her expression blank. Or worse, she'd sigh, roll over, and mutter, don't worry about it. I'm used to disappointment. 2 years ago, I landed a major promotion at work. I came home excited, eager to celebrate, but Samantha barely looked up from her laptop. That's nice, she said. Guess they were low on options this year. Then she launched into a long speech about her own achievements, never once asking about mine. The bottle of champagne I brought home sat unopened on the counter the whole time. Family get-togethers were like walking through a minefield. Samantha would smile and introduce me to her relatives with one hand on my shoulder. This is my husband, Nathan. Not exactly what I imagined when I pictured marriage, but hey, we make it work, right? She always had that flawless smile that made it sound like she was joking, but I knew better. Even shopping for clothes became a series of uncomfortable moments. She'd hold up smaller sizes and say, maybe one day, right in front of the sales staff. If I picked out something I liked, she'd give me that polite little frown. It's fine if that's what you want. but it's not really flattering on you. Even my hobbies got mocked. I'd always wanted to learn guitar, so I finally started taking lessons a couple years back. After my 4th class, I overheard her on the phone with her sister saying, "It's cute. His fingers are still getting used to the chords, but he gives it his best." I gave it up within a month. The pattern was always the same. She'd support me in private, but when others were around, things would change. She'd compliment me while we got dressed for an event, but later joke about how I needed help choosing clothes, as if I didn't know what I was doing. As I sat in that quiet kitchen, all those memories crashed together like a wave. And suddenly, it hit me, I wasn't in love. This wasn't love at all. It was a slow, calculated campaign to chip away at who I was, all while she kept up the picture-perfect image of a happy marriage. Out of instinct, I grabbed my phone and pulled up Samantha's Instagram. Right there on her profile, photos from the dinner party where things didn't go as planned. Amazing evening with amazing friends and my amazing husband who made it all happen. The comments were full of hearts and praise. #couple goals. #blessed. The disconnect between what she posted and what actually happened made my stomach churn. I realized I'd been living in 2 separate marriages, the polished one she showcased to the world, and the private one where I often felt unnoticed and undervalued. That morning light coming through our blinds didn't feel peaceful. It felt like exposure. And with it came a truth I couldn't ignore. This wasn't just a rough patch. This was a pattern of behavior that had been going on for years. For days later, I was still reeling from that realization when a door quietly cracked open. It was Sunday morning. Samantha had gone to her usual yoga class, an 80-minute session followed by what she liked to call networking at the juice bar. Translation? 3 hours of alone time. I'm not proud of what I did next. But something deep in my gut kept nagging at me, saying there was more. A lot more. For years, I'd never snooped, never checked her phone, never questioned the late meetings or spontaneous weekend trips. I believed in trust. I held onto it like it was sacred. Problem was, I was the only one holding on. I poured another cup of coffee and stared at her iPad sitting on the kitchen counter, still plugged in and charging. She probably assumed I'd already be out running errands like I always did on Sundays. And sure enough, the screen lit up, her email was still logged in. I hesitated. Then, with hands trembling, I picked it up. Right there in front of me was her inbox. Message after message from someone named OW, each one more intimate than the last. Subjects like, "Missing you. Wednesday confirmed." I opened the most recent one, dated just yesterday. "Can't wait for Wednesday. Bayfront Hotel. Same room, 3 to 6 p.m. Already told the team I've got a client dinner. Tell Nathan the same. Miss having you close to me." Oh, the room seemed to spin around me. I opened another message, and this one had photos. Her. And a man I recognized, Oliver White, her firm's creative director. The same man who had sat across from me at our dinner table. The same man who seemed amused while my wife made fun of me in front of everyone. The pictures weren't explicit, but the body language was clear, his hand around her waist, and the way she smiled at him, a look I hadn't seen in years. I checked the timestamp. 8 months ago. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment mistake. This was planned. Long-term. A whole second life I didn't know about. I took screenshots of every message that mattered and sent them to my personal email. Then I opened her calendar. Wednesday afternoon was blocked off. Client presentation prep. Another lie already in motion. Next, I checked our credit card statements online. Dinner charges at places I'd never been. A weekend professional development conference that just so happened to line up with hotel charges from a coastal town 2 hours away. Each click, each confirmation, pulled the mask off the life I thought I was living. It was all fake. She wasn't just unfaithful, she was coldly strategic about it. While she mocked me in public, behind the scenes she was giving her attention to someone else. And what stung the most? She never once sat down to talk, never once tried to fix what was broken. I wasn't even worth a conversation. My hands stopped shaking. The raw hurt was still there, but something colder had taken its place, something focused. I took a deep breath and kept collecting evidence. I created a folder in my email and labeled it Next Steps. By the time I heard Samantha's key in the front door, everything was back where it had been. The iPad was on the counter. I was sitting calmly, a picture of normal. "You're still home?" she asked, surprised. "Just finishing up some work," I replied, watching her with brand new eyes. "How was yoga?" "Great," she said, avoiding eye contact. "Really centering." I nodded. I kept wondering, did she really go to yoga, or was she with him instead? How many other lies had I believed without blinking? I'm thinking of grilling tonight, I said. That salmon you like? She smiled, relieved. Sounds perfect. It was perfect. The perfect start to the end. For the next 2 days, I kept playing the role. The same husband she'd gotten used to, quiet, agreeable, easy to overlook. I made breakfast. I asked about her day. I even sat through her favorite reality shows like nothing had changed. But behind that calm front, I was preparing my exit like a man on a mission. Tuesday morning, while she was in the shower, I called my oldest friend, Lucas. I need a place to stay, I said quietly. Just a couple weeks. I've got to figure things out. You good? He asked. Not really. You don't owe me an explanation. Spare room's yours. Next came the lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman a coworker had recommended after his divorce. I booked the earliest slot for Thursday morning. Then during lunch, I went to a different bank, opened a new account, transferred half of our shared savings into it. It wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting myself. We'd both contributed equally over the years. I just wanted my half in a safe place. That evening, I walked through the house and started sorting what actually mattered to me. A few clothes, my grandfather's watch, some old photos. The rest? The furniture, the dishes, the fancy art pieces. We could hash that out later in court. Right now, I was focused on getting back something way more important than stuff, my dignity. But Wednesday was the hardest part of it all. Pretending like I didn't know exactly where she was, exactly who she was with, and exactly what she was doing behind my back. Samantha left for work that morning wearing something I'd never seen before, way more done up than her usual office look. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek and said, "Big client presentation today. Don't wait up. We'll probably do dinner after to celebrate." "Good luck," I said, but the words felt like ash in my mouth. While she was out, I packed 2 suitcases with the basics and loaded them into my trunk during lunch. I parked my car a few blocks down so if she came home early, she wouldn't notice anything. At work, I asked for Thursday and Friday off, just said it was for personal reasons. My boss didn't hesitate, said I'd more than earned it with my spotless attendance. That night, Samantha walked in a little after 9, hair messy, clothes slightly off, and smelling like some cologne I didn't recognize. She said the presentation had gone great, went on and on about the clients and their reactions, all made-up details. I just smiled and nodded, playing the part of the loving husband one last time. While she showered, I pulled up her location history on our shared account. There it was, Bayfront Hotel, just like the email had said. "You seem quiet," she said later, as we were getting ready for bed. "Just tired," I replied. "Big deadline tomorrow." She nodded, already glued to her phone. "Don't forget we've got dinner with the Martins on Saturday." "I won't," I lied. I already knew I'd be long gone by then. As she drifted off beside me, I lay there, just watching her in the dim light. This woman who used to be my whole world, she now felt like a stranger to me. Still beautiful, sure, but empty where it counted. And strangely, I felt sorry for her. Whatever it was she'd been searching for, she clearly hadn't found it, not with Oliver, not anywhere. Because if she had, she wouldn't have needed to break me down to feel in control. Tomorrow, I'd take my life back. But tonight, I quietly said goodbye to the man I used to be, the one who let himself be belittled just to keep a fake marriage alive. By Thursday evening, it all felt final. The lawyer had gone over everything. With the proof I had, this wouldn't be complicated. My stuff was already at Lucas's place. All that was left now was the part one couldn't avoid. I cooked her favorite dinner, grilled salmon, roasted veggies, even that pricey Chardonnay she loved. By the time she came home, the table was lit with candles and flowers. A perfect picture of home, right before it broke apart. "What's the occasion?" she asked, tossing her keys in the bowl. "Just wanted to do something nice," I said, pulling out her chair. We ate mostly in silence. She talked about work now and then. I just gave short, polite replies. Then, I placed a folder on the table. "We need to talk, Samantha." Her face shifted, first surprise, then caution. "About what?" "I know about Oliver." The blood drained from her face. "I don't know what you're—" "Don't," I cut her off, flipping open the folder. "Let's skip the lies." One by one, I laid it all out: emails, receipts, location logs. Her face went from stunned to defensive to angry. "You went through my personal emails," she snapped. "That's a total invasion of privacy." "Yes," I answered, staying calm. After years of emotional abuse and humiliation, I finally stopped ignoring the signs. "Abuse," she laughed bitterly. "Don't be dramatic, Nathan. Making me feel inadequate in front of your coworkers? Mocking my job while sneaking around with Oliver? That's crossing a line, Samantha. She changed gears fast. Tears welled up in her eyes, the same fake tears I'd seen her use on clients she wanted to keep. I made a mistake, she whispered. It didn't mean anything. We can work through this. I shook my head. The cheating's just one part of it. Even without that, I wouldn't stay with someone who treats me like dirt. She reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back. You don't understand, she said, her voice cracking. I've been under so much pressure. Oliver, he was just there. For 8 months. I said quietly. That wasn't a slip-up, Samantha. That was a daily choice. Her face hardened instantly. The tears vanished. Fine, she spat. You want the truth? I've been miserable. What did you expect? You never gave me what I truly needed, whether it was emotional support, affection, or the connection I was hoping for. I nodded, strangely calm. That's why I'm leaving. Because I deserve more than someone who looks at me like that. She rolled her eyes and scoffed. More than me? Good luck finding someone who can truly accept all your quirks. And in that moment, looking at her twisted in spite and anger, I felt something I hadn't expected, peace. This woman had never truly loved me. What she loved was the control. The divorce papers will be ready tomorrow, I said, standing up. I'm not coming back. You can't just leave. Samantha shouted, trailing me to the door. Her voice jumped between anger and panic like she couldn't decide which mask to wear. We already talked, I said, grabbing the small duffel I'd left by the door that morning. You made your feelings clear. Where are you even going? She demanded, arms folded tight across her chest. That's not your concern anymore. She followed me out to the porch, and with every step, her polished act fell apart. Her voice cracked. Her hands trembled. This is insane, Nathan. You're throwing away 10 years over one mistake. I turned to face her, keys in hand. This wasn't one mistake. It was years of you tearing me down, followed by months of betrayal. I'll go to therapy, she exclaimed, her voice filled with urgency. I'll put an end to things with Oliver. Just tell me what you want. I'll do it. For a second, I paused. 10 years is a long time to throw away. But then my phone buzzed, a text from Oliver. Sent to both of us. Is everything okay? You're not answering my calls. Samantha saw the message. The realization hit her like a truck. Her face twisted in rage, and she screamed, loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. She yelled, You'll regret this. Do you really think someone else will accept you? You're nothing without me. I started the engine, strangely calm despite her meltdown. Goodbye, Samantha. When I got to Lucas's place 20 minutes later, he was already on the porch. Took one look at me and helped carry my bags inside without saying a word. Want to talk about it? He asked, handing me a cold beer once we settled in. Not yet, I said, the adrenaline finally fading. Maybe tomorrow. Whenever you're ready, man. That night, my phone was flooded with messages. Samantha quickly shifted from remorseful to trying to control the situation. 7:48 p.m. I'm sorry. Please come home. We can fix this. 8:23 p.m. You're acting immature. The silent treatment isn't like you. 9:14 p.m. I've called your friends. No one's seen you. Are you safe? 10:33 p.m. If you don't respond, I'll have to involve authorities. 11:25 p.m. Oliver doesn't matter. You're my husband. Please. Midnight. This is what you always do, run away instead of fighting for us. I turned off the phone. It was almost surprising how easily she could reshape the past, portraying herself as the victim and me as the villain. The next morning, I met with my lawyer again to finalize the divorce paperwork. By noon, everything was set. I opted to have it delivered by courier, avoiding any further drama with Samantha. Later that afternoon, I visited a therapist, someone my lawyer recommended for individuals going through tough relationships. Dr. Harrison listened as I explained everything, the dinner party, the constant criticism, and the betrayal. She nodded and said gently, What you're describing is emotional abuse. And choosing to leave was a healthy response. Then why do I still feel guilty? I asked. Because abusers are experts at making their victims feel responsible for the fallout of their actions. That's going to take time to unlearn. I booked another session for the following week. Just that one step made me feel lighter, like I was finally taking care of myself. When I got back to Lucas's and turned my phone on, there were 32 missed calls and a wall of texts. The last one, sent just an hour earlier, read, I got the papers. This isn't over, Nathan. But for me, it was. Every hour away from Samantha felt like breathing fresh air after years underwater. The week that followed felt like something out of a psychological thriller. Day 1, she showed up at my office crying, telling my coworkers she feared I was having a breakdown. Security had to walk her out. Day 2, she called my parents, told them I just left her after a silly argument. My mom rang me, worried sick, until I explained the truth. About the affair. About the years of abuse. She sighed and said, "I never liked that woman." That was the first time I laughed in days. Day 3, a bouquet of flowers showed up at Lucas's. The card read, "I miss us. Please come home." The fact that she'd found my location? That chilled me more than anything. Day 4, her sister Avery marched into my office, trying to talk some sense into me. Said Samantha was heartbroken and that I was throwing everything away. I showed her the proof, emails, receipts, location pings. The outrage drained from her face. "I had no idea," she said, shaken. "She told me you were having a midlife crisis." "I'm 39, I said flatly. She's always had a gift for twisting the truth. Avery looked down and said softly, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry." Then came day 5, and that's when things really took a turn. Samantha wiped out our joint account. My lawyer had warned me that might happen, so thankfully I'd already moved my paycheck to a new bank. But still, it hit me. It was a move that told me she was done pretending. That night, she emailed me old photos of us, smiling like we used to, with the subject line, "Is this really what you want to throw away?" More and more, the answer was yes. Day 6, I returned to the house, but this time with a police escort. Samantha was waiting, looking polished, but her red-rimmed eyes told a different story. "You called the cops," she said, clearly frustrated. "Just being cautious," I said and walked past her to the bedroom. She trailed behind me as I gathered the last of my personal stuff, some family photos, important paperwork, a few things that actually meant something to me. "What about Spain?" she asked softly. "The trip? The kids we talked about?" I zipped my suitcase. "Those were dreams. But you can't cheat on someone for months and expect them to believe you still mean all that." Her face shifted, less sadness now, more cold. "The house is still half yours. You're on the mortgage." "Then sell it," I said. "The lawyers will sort it out. I can't afford it alone." That was one of the few honest things she'd said in a while. Not my problem anymore. A month after I walked out, the divorce process was moving along surprisingly quickly. She tried to drag things out, but once her lawyer saw the evidence of the affair, the advice was clear: settle quickly. I found a small apartment downtown, nothing fancy, but it was all mine. Rent was decent, and more importantly, it was a fresh start. My first weekend there, surrounded by unpacked boxes, I looked around that empty space and felt something I hadn't in years: hope. No one around to criticize my choices or move things around while I was gone. I bought a couch I liked, something she'd have hated. Hung my grandpa's old fishing prints, the one she'd banished to the garage. Set up a corner for my guitar, the one I'd nearly forgotten I owned. At work, I threw myself into a big project, one I'd been hesitant to lead before. Without her constant criticism, I started to realize my own worth. My team noticed. About 4 weeks in, my boss pulled me aside. "Whatever changed in your life, it's working. I'm putting you up for that senior manager spot." Therapy helped too. Dr. Harrison listened, asked the right questions, and helped me see that what I went through wasn't just a rough patch, it was emotional abuse. "The most common thing people ask," she said, "is why they stayed so long. And the answer is always the same, because it never starts off bad. It's slow, like a frog in boiling water." My friendship with Lucas grew deeper too. One night over beers, he told me, "I never liked Samantha. The way she spoke to you, it wasn't right. But you seemed happy, so I didn't say anything." I wasn't happy, I admitted. I just thought I was supposed to be. Meanwhile, Samantha didn't let up. She sent people to check on me, bounced between angry texts and emotional apologies, even mailed a letter filled with excuses and twisted logic. None of it worked. Each day, I felt stronger. Each choice I made for myself rebuilt a little piece of the guy I used to be. The divorce wasn't final yet, but I didn't need papers to tell me I was free. The man who'd once stood there quietly while being humiliated in front of guests? He was gone. In his place was someone who finally understood his worth. One night, setting up a record player, something Samantha would have rolled her eyes at, I caught myself smiling. It wasn't happiness just yet, but it was something just as powerful: peace. 3 months after I left, I got the promotion. Senior manager. Better pay, more responsibility, and a new level of confidence I was still getting used to. My director clapped me on the back and said, "Whatever you're doing, keep it up." And honestly, what I was doing was simple. Living without constant criticism. I wasn't looking to date. But then Riley, from marketing, asked if I wanted to grab coffee after a meeting. I said yes, almost without thinking. That coffee turned into dinner. Then a hike. Then a few more dates. She was smart, thoughtful, and didn't just listen, she heard me. That alone felt new. The first time we got close, I braced myself. I expected judgment, or awkwardness, or comparisons. Instead, she was present, kind, and after, she held me tight and whispered, "That was perfect." Those 3 little words, "that was perfect," did more than comfort me. They reached into places I didn't even know were still hurting and helped start the healing. About 4 months into this new chapter of my life, a moment I'd been quietly dreading finally showed up. My buddy Ben was celebrating a big promotion at Benedetti's, one of those classy restaurants where all the corporate folks hang out. I had a strong feeling I might run into Samantha there. Riley came with me, and I'll be honest, I felt good. I was in a sharp suit, standing next to a woman who respected me, and living a life I'd rebuilt from scratch. An hour in, we were joking with some of Ben's friends when I suddenly felt that all too familiar presence. There she was, across the room, staring. Samantha looked slimmer, like she'd carefully put herself together to project some polished, perfect image. Our eyes locked for a second. I gave a polite nod, then turned right back to my conversation. Later, while Riley stepped away to grab us drinks, Samantha came over, wine glass in hand. "You look well," she said, her voice a little tight. "Thanks," I replied. "You too." Then came a long, awkward silence packed with all the words we weren't saying. Finally, she added, "I heard about your promotion. Congratulations." I just said, "Thank you." She glanced toward where Riley had gone. "She seems nice." "She is," I said. "Very." It was like she was hoping for something, a question about her life, maybe some hint that I missed her. I gave her nothing. "Well," she finally said, "I should get back to my table." As she walked away, it hit me. I didn't feel a thing. No anger. No sadness. Not even regret. Just peace. Exactly 1 year to the day after that disastrous dinner party, the divorce was finalized. Turns out, once her attempts at manipulation fell flat, everything moved along pretty quickly. We sold the house, split the assets, and walked away. No fireworks. No courtroom drama. By then, Riley and I had been dating 7 months. Our relationship just worked. Nothing forced. Nothing phony. It was built on honesty and mutual respect. When I finally shared everything about my marriage, she listened without judgment and said something that stayed with me. "Thank you for trusting me with your past. Now let's focus on our future." With the money from the house sale and my new salary, I bought a sleek condo overlooking the park. Riley helped decorate, but never pushed her style on me. "It's your place," she told me. "It should feel like you." I dusted off the guitar and even joined a casual weekend band with some coworkers. The night Riley came to see us play at a local pub, her pride in me was so real, it erased all those years Samantha made me feel like a joke. Work was going great, too. We had our best quarter ever, and my boss started floating the idea of a director role. Something that would have felt way out of reach back then now felt possible. Therapy sessions slowly tapered off. Eventually, Dr. Harrison said, "You've done the work. You know the signs now. Trust yourself." On the anniversary of the day I walked out, Riley suggested we celebrate what she called Freedom Day. We got a table at Marconi's, this beautiful Italian spot downtown. Funny enough, maybe fate, maybe just bad luck, Samantha was there too, with some guy and a group of friends. We locked eyes across the room. She looked away first. Her laugh, even from a distance, sounded forced. Riley squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "Perfect," I said, and I meant it. As we shared dessert that night, I realized something deep. I wasn't defining myself by what Samantha did anymore. I wasn't carrying around that bitterness or pain. That broken guy who got humiliated at a dinner party had grown into someone else. Someone strong, self-aware, and at peace. Riley must have noticed me getting quiet. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. I smiled and lifted my glass to toast the woman who saw me clearly, and actually liked what she saw. "Just feeling grateful for second chances," I said. I wasn't that small man anymore, the one Samantha mocked. I had found my true strength, not in size or status, but in finally living a life that felt honest and mine.